is our Thanksgiving week big picture Timberwolves show. So we're not really going to break down games here. We're going to talk more about just the early portion of the season, what the issues are facing this team before we get rolling. Another thank you to Jim Peterson and Head Flyer Brewing. We had our live show last week, and it was an absolute blast. Jim Peterson was fantastic. Thanks to John for lining him up. Thanks to Head Flyer for hosting. This, again, is the John Krawczynski Show. He's John Krawczynski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. Thanks to Princeton's Liquors, TSR Injury Law, True Vision Institute, Head Flyer Brewing, and Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line, along with Head Flyer Brewing. And let's get to it. This team did not get off to a fast start this season. And, what's the biggest issue do you think that's facing the team right now?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that a lot of what we have seen transpire so far for them, both the good and the bad, has been anticipated. You knew when you were making a trade of the significance that they made right before the season started that this was going to be a difficult kind of rollout that was going to take some time to click into place. I think that the one thing that you start to get a little more concerned about is when you see in Toronto kind of Rudy Gobert really pouting when he's not getting the ball, some really poor body language, frustrations around the team that are just spilling out onto the court. And I think that for the most part, through the early portion of this schedule, the roster and the guys have generally been able to keep their heads about them, have been patient, have been kind of accepting of this hand that they've been dealt and kind of dealing with it and trying to figure it out together. And then in Toronto was the first kind of signs that we saw that, there are individuals that are all frustrated and that is starting to kind of come out now on the court, and it cost them a game that they should have won. And so I do think that it's a little bit of a fork in the road moment for the team in terms of it's time for them to really address kind of their issues and make a decision on how they band together and go forward. Because what we saw against the Raptors was just not only disjointed play, but also disconnected personalities on the court. And I think that's the real concern that you have coming out of that one.
Where are they with Mike Conley's usage? It looks like they've decided instead of trying to limit his minutes on a daily basis, they're going to play him when it's time to play him and give him days off every once in a while to rest him. Is that in case the fact? And do you think that will work if it is?
Well, I mean, I do think that it does. They have absolutely been very sort of diligent and intentional about how they are going about monitoring Mike's minutes. And one of the difficulties that they found and that Chris Finch found early on in the season was when they just tried to limit him to, let's say, 22 to 24 minutes in a game. That is hard to sort of parse out the shifts for a starting player with that kind of a minutes load, because it typically then means that you're going for, 5 minutes at a time, in each quarter. And that is a hard thing for Mike Conley to kind of go through, get in any kind of a rhythm and play effectively. And so I think he was struggling with that. And so recently now we have seen the minutes kind of tick up a little bit more into the 30s. And that is in part because he is so important to what they do. When they do not have a real point guard out there, you can see the offense just kind of really struggle to get good shots, to be organized for any of those things. And so I think that there possibly is kind of a shift in the way that they do want to rest him and monitor those minutes. And maybe you do give him more days off fully during the season, and then you can play him into the high 20s or low 30s in minutes when you do have him on the court. But then that brings its own set of problems is when he is completely off of the court and not in the game at all. Then you see games like Toronto where they just can't get anything going offensively and can't get good shots and struggle to hit. And so I think Chris Finch has a real sort of conundrum on his hands right now in terms of who can be a lead initiator, playmaker, and how they do it with Mike to give him a rhythm, but also take the minutes load off of him as a 37-year-old, because no one believes that he can be an everyday player playing around 30 minutes a night. That's just going to be too much for him. And his body would break down because of that.
The easy theoretical fix is Rob Dillingham steps in and plays great point guard. He's been up and down when he has gotten in games. And then, of course, in Toronto, he sprains his ankle after he had a couple breathtaking moves. But, I mean, how far away is he from being a legitimate solution to this problem?
I don't think he's terribly far away, Jim. We have seen, as you said, the Toronto game, but then even in a couple of previous games when he's had one or two shifts, the ball moves and pops when he's out there. He has an energy about him and a dynamic nature about him that says, that is just different from anyone else on the court. Now, he is going to make mistakes out there. You are going to have to play through some things and endure some things with him, more so than you would Mike Conley, Alexander Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, any of the other veteran players. But I think at this point in the season, provided that he's healthy, of course, I really do think that he's got to get as much time as possible, because what we have seen so far is that even when he's not playing, they're not winning at a high level. And so I don't think that I think there was a belief at the start of the season that if you played Rob Dillingham significant minutes, that you really kind of sacrificed your chances of success in that game. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. Just as a 19-year-old point guard, making decisions, making mistakes, playing through it like he has, like that's going to be tough for a team to endure. But given how lackluster, frankly, the team has been, I think that maybe a more sound strategy is to put Dillingham out there, not 28 minutes a night, but certainly play him into the double-digit minutes and let him get his legs underneath him and figure things out, because there is an element to his game that they lack in pretty much every other player on their roster. And so there should be some sort of vision for getting him ready as soon as possible. And I think the more he can play, the closer that he will be to ready, and he will, have a chance to earn Chris Finch's trust. And they're just not playing well enough otherwise without him on the floor to merit continuing to keep him off the floor.
Yeah, I love the way he's going to beat his man. He's going to create something.
Yes.
There's a shot or something else. That's going to happen. And, he'll have to learn decision making at the NBA level, but he's going to be making decisions after he beats his man.
Yeah, you're right. And you can tell, there's not really anyone that stands in front of him that he cannot get by. And so when you have that advantage, and when you can create that advantage, man, it just tilts the defense a little bit. Now, there are going to be times where he gets by his guy, breaks down the defense, makes the perfect pass to an open guy in the corner for a three splash, and it's going to be beautiful. There are also going to be times where he gets by his guy and he elevates in the lane and gets stuck in the air and has to throw a wild pass that's probably a turnover. But when you have the raw natural tools that he has, you can see a pathway forward for him to become dynamic and put so much pressure on the defense and become that kind of court tilting type of a player that really the Wolves need right now. And he is so natural with the ball in his hands, where Dante's not natural with the ball in his hands. Nikhil is not natural with the ball in his hands. You can tell that Rob has been playing this way for his entire life. And so that element of electricity is going to be there. And sometimes you're going to get zapped from it. But I think that the more that he is out there and the more exposure that he gets to what he can do and what he can't do, then there's going to be more benefit to having him out there. And he's going to give you the plus side of it more and more. And it's going to take a month, 2 months, maybe more for him to really figure all of that out. But the end game for Rob Dillingham is really tantalizing. And if you don't have anything else really going for you in that regard right now, it is kind of a case of, hey, let's just see what the kid can do type of a situation. And I do think he has the ability that when he gets out there, starts knocking down shots and starts whipping the ball around the court, you're like, okay, this all of a sudden changes the energy on the team. And I think that this team needs a bit of an energy change right now. And so hopefully his ankle is not too serious and he's going to get back at it, and he'll be good to go sooner rather than later. And then I think it's up to Chris Finch to keep finding ways to keep putting him out there, because they need some juice right now, and he has plenty of juice in those legs.
No doubt about it. All right, I do want to talk about Dante. First, we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. We want to hear more about Princeton's Liquors.
Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Bill Princeton, the Princeton family have been in the liquor business for decades and decades. If you want the best selection of craft beers, the best selection of bourbon in the Twin Cities area, go to Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. They will take care of you. They have everything you want from those two, but you can also get all sorts of other wine and spirits at Princeton's Liquors. It is a family-run business that's been in business in this area, in this community forever and ever. And we love at the John Krawczynski Show and at Talk North to support locally owned community businesses. And Princeton's Liquors is that way. Bill Princeton is an ardent basketball fan. He's a supporter of this show. He has worn the Crunch costume as an intern back in the day for the Wolves and Lynx. And so he's embedded in this community just like we are. And so if you need anything for holiday parties, for maybe just taking a little edge off while you're watching this Timberwolves team figure things out, go to Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. They will take care of you.
I hope Steve Terry's feeling better. He couldn't make it to the live show. We rarely have a live show where Steve Terry isn't there and slapping backs and having a good time with us. So I hope he's feeling better. Reminder of Steve Terry's business, TSR Injury Law. You see him on the Nas Reed commercials, which are very well done. You see him on billboards everywhere. They have the billboards because they have become such a dominant force in their industry. If you're ever injured, call 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. They'll take good care of you. They won't charge you unless they win your case, and they win lots of cases. Also want to hear about John's experience at True Vision Institute.
Yeah, True Vision Institute in Bloomington. I got LASIK there this summer. I just went to a conference for work and met up with a bunch of colleagues who I hadn't seen since I had LASIK, and they keep telling me, wow, you look younger because you don't have the glasses anymore, and just getting constant compliments about not having glasses. And I can tell you, just traveling without having to worry about glasses and contacts, man, it's a much better, easier, more streamlined process now that I've had LASIK surgery. And you go to TrueVision.com, you set up a consultation. They will take you through all of the steps that you need to get the right decision for your vision correction. Maybe it's LASIK. Maybe there's another procedure. Maybe you just stick with glasses and contacts. They will figure that out. It's a no pressure evaluation. They are incredibly knowledgeable. They are incredibly thorough to get to the right answer. And they are the friendliest staff that I've ever been around. So you do that, and then you go, and if you do have the LASIK surgery, Dr. Chu takes you through the process and is wonderful, keeps you calm, keeps you just controlling your emotions, getting everything through it, and you're in and out of there very quickly. and then you're seeing clearly the next day. So I cannot recommend Chew Vision enough. It's changed my life. I wish I would have done it 10 years ago. Go to Chew Vision, CHU vision.com, and set up your consultation. Tell them the John Krawczynski Show sent you.
So before the season started, I thought, okay, it might take Julius Randle a while to figure out how to play offense with this group, but Dante DiVincenzo should just be a plug and play. He's a three-point shooter, a great three-point shooter. He's experienced. They need three-point shooting. It'll just work seamlessly. It has not. What has gone wrong so far?
Yeah, I think you framed it exactly right, Jim, because I did think that DiVincenzo was a plug and play guy, just a seamless integration into what they wanted to do. But you look at all of his numbers so far, and in the preseason, he looked fantastic. He was shooting the ball great. He was free and easy. He was jumping in and just letting it fly. And now, you look at last year with the Knicks, he averaged 15.5 points a game. He's playing 29 minutes a game. He shot 40% from three. This year it's 9.5 points. It is 32% from three, 43% from two, and he was 54% last year. So all of his shooting numbers are just down, and he just does not look like he's comfortable yet. And the thing that I do wonder about is, since he has gotten here, there has been a lot of conversation about how in the preseason and in training camp, it looked like he was very capable of being essentially a backup point guard, being an initiator on offense, making plays for others, doing all of those things. And he just does. That has not borne out in the regular season. And I wonder if that role is just putting too much pressure on himself to be something that he hasn't really been in his career. And I think that you can tell, he drives into the lane. He's trying to find teammates. Oftentimes he's having turnovers with forced passes and things like that. And he just does not seem to have a good feel for that aspect of what he's being asked to do. And I do think that if they can simplify his role a little bit more, and maybe that is with more Rob Dillingham, and just say, Dante, just get out there, play defense, shoot the ball, cut to the basket, score that way. I wonder if he would settle in a little bit more. It just seems like he's trying to do too much right now, and that is messing with all of his offensive rhythm. It just does not look suitable or comfortable for him in any stretch right now.
Tell us more about Head Flyer Brewing.
Man, we had a great time at Head Flyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis with Jim Peterson last week. Great crowd that showed up, and went home with some Timberwolves tickets, went home with some athletic merchandise, with some gift cards and things like that. And it's just a great place to hang out, to watch the Wolves games, to watch any sports games on their many flat screen TVs. What I really love about the tap room is it is open and easy to sit around, plenty of room. I think a lot of the breweries locally here are great. They have great beers. They have great setup, but their spaces are often a little bit more cramped. This one, you can breathe in Head Flyer Brewing, and they have wonderful beer. I took some home with me in a crowler after the show, and you can just get whatever kind of flavor you want. If you want seltzers, if you want THC drinks, they have all of those things for you at Head Flyer Brewing. And one of the things that Neil, one of the owners, emphasized on our show last week was that when the Timberwolves are playing, Head Flyer is open. So if that's a West Coast game, they will stay open late. They'll have the games on TV. So you can watch with your friends, hang out, have a good time. So go to Head Flyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis, and maybe drown some sorrows together with your friends while the Wolves are figuring things out here.
Let's hear more about Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
SGLambchops.com is the place to go for the best casual wear that you're going to find, most comfortable t-shirts, shorts, sweatpants, hoodies, all sorts of different stuff that you can wear at home, you can wear out on the town, and you can feel good about it. If you use the promo code JONK20, you'll get 20% off anything at Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing. They have some awesome new hoodies that are coming out for fall and winter. Keep an eye on that. Jordan and Craig are courtside at these games for Timberwolves and Lynx. They are another business that is just part of our community and really embedded with us. And so we love to support those people, but mostly they just make really cool, really high quality merchandise. The Timberwolves kind of collaboration that they have is a huge seller. You see it all over Target Center. So go to sglambchops.com, use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything that you get at Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing.
Thanks to all of our sponsors and all of our listeners. We really do appreciate it, and we're having a great time doing this show. So Rudy Gobert did have some bad body language and a little frustration in Toronto. How seriously do you take that? How much of a worry is that?
I mean, I do think it needs to be addressed, Jim. I do understand some of his frustration because what we have seen so far from this team has been a real erosion of the defensive intensity and effectiveness that made them so good last year. And Rudy himself, prior to going on this road trip, said that he had to be better as an individual defender than he has been so far. And I think one of the things that he has been grappling with is that Julius Randle has not been good enough defensively. He's not active. He does not move around. And so I think Rudy feels like he has to cover for Julius and then cover his own responsibilities as well. And so in trying to do both of those things, he's not doing either one at a high level. And so there's frustration there. And then when that trickles over to the offensive end and when, he has his man like Scotty Barnes sealed underneath the basket, and just right there, if you just throw it to him, he catches it and has a dunk and he doesn't get there. That's a level of frustration that he didn't get the ball. That said, I think Julius has said, man, I've thrown you the ball a bunch and sometimes you drop it. And this is a tie game in the fourth quarter. I got to make sure we get something good here. And so, for Rudy, I thought when he did not get that ball and then he clearly intentionally took the 3-second violation, I thought that was a bad look for Rudy. It really was. He is a competitive guy. He values winning. He always prides himself on being a winning player and making winning decisions. That was a losing kind of act by Rudy in that situation because it's a tie game. It's 95-95 in the fourth quarter. You cannot take a turnover like that and then go on the other end of the court and make just a reckless frustration foul of Scotty Barnes to put them in the penalty. And now you're behind the 8 ball. And so, the way I understand it is after the game, and certainly during the game, Ant was getting on him. After the game, I think there was a very spirited discussion in the locker room amongst the team from what I've heard, just trying to get everyone on the same page, and air their feelings, figure things out. But that was one of those situations that just really makes everyone look bad, but especially Rudy Gobert, who has really prided himself on being a winning player, someone that you can rely on. And that was a more of a selfish act on his part. And maybe it came from good reason, but that's just a big problem. And so I don't think it's something that is, beyond the point of no return. But I think it was a moment of frustration that will inspire conversation, like real frank conversation, about what the team is and who and how everyone fits. And it could be good in the long run. Guys can get past it, but certainly in the moment, it was not a good look at all.
And summarize Julius Randle thus far, because he's had great moments. He's had good games, but as you said, the defensive lapses are becoming a little problematic.
Yeah, I mean, we talked at Head Flyer, a day after or 2 days after he had the game-winning shot to beat Phoenix, and he has had some really, really good moments so far this season, especially offensively. Really kind of making plays for others, scoring, playing well with Anthony Edwards and playing well off of him. And so there have been good things that he has done. I think the two things that are disappointing so far about Julius is the defense. And we've kind of talked about that. He just does not seem to be as engaged and active on that end, especially, Jim, when Rudy goes out and it's Julius Randle and Naz Reid. That front court pairing is just getting blown out of the water at the rim, not protecting the rim at all, not grabbing rebounds, not doing any of the things they need to do to end possessions. And so him not showing more fight on that end, especially in the non-Rudy minutes, has been a disappointment. The other thing is he is a career over 9, almost 9.5 rebounds a game. He's averaging 6.7 so far this season. He's got to be more physical on the glass. He's got to give them more of a presence, because we have seen opponents just be able to, crush the Wolves on the offensive glass and create second chances and third chances. And when you are allowing a team to do that, that only puts even more pressure on a defense that is already underperforming. So I like, in general, what I have seen from him offensively. And I think that over the course of the next couple of months, as they get more comfortable with each other, as they work together more, I think you're going to see even better offense and cleaner offense from him, and getting stuff for his teammates, but also for himself. But the physicality and the defense and the rebounding has to improve by a wide margin if this team is going to sort of get on any kind of a run here and put these early struggles behind them.
Good stuff from John. John, I'm going to give you an opportunity to offer a final thought on any subject you like. We do want to remind you, we're coming from the Aquarius Home Services Studios, thanks to Aquarius Home Services, thanks to so many of our local business partners, Princeton's Liquors, TSR Injury Law, True Vision Institute, Head Flyer Brewing, and Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing Line. A reminder, we have the best sports lineup in town. We have Bar Down Beauties on hockey, Kevin Gorg on hockey, Russo and LaPanta, Chin Music with Lavelle and Roy Smalley, John and Krawczynski Show, the Viking Update Show, John Millay on Preps, Jeff Diamond, the former Vikings general manager on the Vikings, Don Mitchell's interview show, Randy Shaver on high school football and other things, Mike Grimm on the Gophers, outdoor content. Check it all out. When you find a show you like, please subscribe at your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. All right, John, this is a final thought.
Yeah, I just think that one thing that has been apparent, and what we have seen throughout Chris Finch's time as a coach with the Timberwolves, is one of the things he's been really kind of defined his tenure is how often he's rather blunt in public when things are not going well. He never does hesitate to tell it like it is, to kind of really call his players out and be frank with the media in terms of what the Timberwolves need to do and who needs to be better and all of those things. But what we have seen recently from him in the last 4 to 5 games or more is a much more muted post-game Chris Finch, a little bit, much more kind of trying to go glass half full, trying to be encouraging, doing those things. And really what that tells me is that he still does not know how far he can push these guys. And he's trying to figure out a lot of things, his lineup combinations, what works schematically for them. And I don't think he has all the answers right now, and he's searching as well. And so when he takes the approach with the post games that he does, I think it's indicative of a coach that still is trying to get his handle on things. And of all the players, so many of them can be better at everything that they do. But also Chris Finch can be a heck of a lot better at what he's doing too. And this is a team in general that needs to figure things out. And Chris Finch has got to get a little bit better finger on the pulse of this team and what will work going forward to help them get in better positions.
Good stuff, John. Happy Thanksgiving week. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks to everyone who listens, and thanks to everyone who came out to Headfly.